Kamala Harris, she's finally subjected herself to a couple of mildly challenging interviews. And it's no coincidence that it happened overseas, right? We showed you the one with the British journalist the other day. And now we have an Aussie who works for the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Her name is Sarah Ferguson. And take a look at this exchange that happened with these two. SOT 3.
Wasn't Joe Biden then, to put it on him, wasn't his refusal to recognise his own frailties the reason that you faced a nearly impossible task?
I ran against Donald Trump for president. And Donald Trump ran on a platform that was, in large part, I believe, misrepresenting his intentions to the American people.
Non-responsive.
I do believe that there are a fair number of people that voted for Donald Trump who believed him when he told them that his first priority on day one is going to be to bring down prices. And he didn't. And you combine that misrepresentation of intention with also what was at play in terms of massive amounts of mis and disinformation.
Now, forgive me.
And a truncated calendar in terms of the clock.
I want to interrupt you because that is a world-class pivot, but it is not the question that I asked you, which is about Joe Biden's failure to recognize his own frailties and what that did to you. The question is about Joe Biden. Are you still reluctant to criticize the former president?
In what regard, please?
Well, just in terms of that question. So you went on.
What exactly would you like to ask? Be more specific, if you don't mind.
She asked it
twice.
Was
it Joe Biden's decision, his failure to recognize his own frailties in that position that put you in the position that made it almost impossible to win that race?
He was not frail as president of the United States.
But he had frailties.
Oh,
we
really?
all saw the debate.
I do believe that Joe Biden had the capacity to be president of the United States.
And she goes on to say, you know, maybe not the capacity to run for president. She tries to draw some distinction. Listening audience, you have to watch this clip back on YouTube. Go to 28 after the hour. She looks dumbfounded. She's truly stunned that she's being asked a difficult question. It is amazing. It's been like on the theme of our week here on this show as we watch these dumbfounded Democrats. Like, what are you doing? Like Karine Jean-Pierre. You know, in the interview with the New Yorker, like they don't understand. Wait. No. And Kamala pretending you ask a precise question. The problem is your question. The question was very, very simple. Wasn't his refusal to recognize his own frailties the reason that you faced a nearly impossible task? Then she answered an entirely different question, talked about how Donald Trump promised affordability and he didn't deliver it. She got interrupted. And she said again, that's a world-class pivot. That's not the question I asked, which is about Joe Biden's failure to recognize his own frailties and what that did to you. The question is about Biden. Are you still reluctant to criticize the former president? In what regard? In the exact regard I just told you twice now. Twice I talked about his failure to recognize his own frailties. That's literally the phrase the reporter used in both of the questions. Kamala pretended she didn't understand. She did understand this one. She's not as dumb as Karine Jean-Pierre. And she just pretended she didn't because she didn't want to answer it. And then in what regard, people, which is like, what? Huh? You can tell she's flustered in terms of that question. What exactly would you like to ask? Be more specific. Okay, you know exactly what she's asking. You're stalling now for time because you're shocked. You've been asked a pointed question and you're being forced to answer it. And she asks it a third time. Was it Joe Biden's decision, his failure to recognize his own frailties in that position, that puts you in the position and made it almost impossible for you to win that race? He was not frail as president of the United States. Oh, my God. Amazing. That's where she landed. He wasn't frail. Well, here we are all this time later. I mean, truly, it's going to be a year later next month that she lost. And she still can't admit the truth. Like, the gaslighting is amazing. And speaking of gaslighting, we did a story on AM Update. I think it was yesterday morning. My mornings are blending together. Talking about how all these people went in there and they pled the fifth, including Dr. Kevin O'Connor, President Joe Biden's personal physician. And the House Oversight Committee has now referred this all to the DOJ, saying, you know, like, please investigate these people who took the fifth on what appears to be the greatest cover-up in presidential history, that Joe Biden was incompetent and non-compos mentis, and even his own physician appears to have been in on the cover-up. Please look at him, Pam Bondi, because he pled the fifth when he came before us at House Oversight. And we were talking about Dr. Kevin O'Connor in the piece, and we pointed out the fact that he helped before Joe Biden had won president. It was like 2017, 18, 19, right in that time frame there. So Trump was president. And he helped facilitate some business deal with a hospital group for Joe Biden's brother, James. And so Jim Biden got this sweetheart deal where right after Dr. Kevin O'Connor hooked him up with this medical group, he got a loan from that group of $600,000. And that day, $200,000 arrived across the transom. And later that same day, $200,000 went from Jim Biden to Joe Biden. Okay. It all seemed very suspicious. And why was Dr. Kevin O'Connor recommending Jim Biden to do anything with a hospital group when the guy had zero experience in hospital administration? It spoke to the overly familiar relationship that this doctor had with the Bidens, from Jill to Jim to Joe, and raised the question of whether Dr. O'Connor received any sort of a kickback. Well, we didn't know the answer to that because what we did have was a denial from James Biden's lawyer that this doctor received any kickback. But we couldn't ask the doctor himself because, again, he pled the fifth. Okay, and we went back actually to see who specifically, it was the Biden spokesperson, Joe Biden, who said there was no kickback. We went back to see who that was, who denied it. And it was a White House spokesperson named Ian Sams. And I remember thinking, I'm pretty sure that guy's lied to us many, many times. He's been on, we've run clips of him many, many times where he was denying the mental acuity problems and so on. And it was very clear to me he was a liar. And he's in the news today. Why is he in the news today? Because he, too, had to give an interview to the Oversight Committee. And he was asked about how he allegedly knew that Joe Biden was A-OK, something he said publicly and apparently insisted was true to the House Oversight Committee. How did you know? How much time did you spend with him? Like, walk us through the two of your relationship. And would you listen to this? SOT 1.
How often would you say that you interacted with the president in person?
I interacted with him pretty infrequently.
So, weekly, monthly, what are we talking about?
Very infrequent. I think I met with the president a handful of times during my tenure in the White House.
I pulled a couple quotes of an interview you did on MSNBC, and one of the quotes says, "When I deal with him, he is sharp," him being President Biden. And he is asking tough questions. Do you recall this?
I got to say, that doesn't look anything like the president that I know. When I deal with him, he's sharp. He's asking tough questions. That's the President Biden that so many of us experience every single day.
So this statement, the basis for this statement was your interactions somewhere between 1 and 5 times.
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that's a bit misleading?
I think it was pretty direct and honest, and said that when I do deal with him, he's sharp, and he was asking incisive questions during my meetings with him.
But you dealt with him 5 times in 24 months. That's not exactly a large scope of knowledge on how he interacts with staff. You don't think it's missing some context?
I don't.
Do you think that statement suggests that you deal with him more than you did?
I don't think so. I mean, I spoke about my own interactions with him. That's the President Biden that we experience every day.
Every day. By the way, he goes on to admit that he only saw him in person twice. Twice. In all those years. And he's running around on MSNBC saying he is sharp. He cross-examines with questions. That's the Biden we see every day. You never saw him. You lied. You're a liar. It's obvious. Ian Sams. You disgraced yourself. Why didn't you just say, in my position, I'm low person on the totem pole, and I don't get that much exposure to the president. But I will tell you, in the couple of times I've seen him, I give him an A+. That would be honest spin. But instead, you got caught in a lie, and then you had to admit it, and then you wouldn't confess to being out of context. At a minimum, those Republicans were being nice to you in the way they styled what you did on MSNBC. And that is why MSNBC viewers, in part, were grossly misled about the state of the president. They have you to blame. You, Kamala Harris, Karine Jean-Pierre, and Joe Biden and his family themselves, plus these top aides like Mike Donnellan, who we talked about the other day, who admitted he had not only $4 million in his pocket to get Biden reelected, but another $4 million promised to him if he could get him over the finish line. Due to overwhelming demand for free silver from Birch Gold Group, they have extended the current promotion through Veterans Day on November 11th. Here's the deal. Buy gold and get free silver, which happens to be surging in price. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold by Veterans Day, Birch Gold will send you a free 1-ounce patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Gold is up over 60% since the beginning of this year, and Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they will send you free silver honoring our veterans. And if you are current or former military, Birch Gold is waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. Text MK to the number 989898 right now for a free info kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with purchase before November 11th. Again, text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.